Hey, Mitch Taylor here for Disc Jockey News, and today we're chatting with my friend Eric. And it's just going to be like a one-to-one kind of conversation. You get to be the fly on the wall and hear, just us kind of going back and forth about where we're at. This whole, pandemic 2020 is kind of, blasted us right between the eyes, and the entertainment business is kind of, shut down for some of us in regards to how you do things, and maybe you've pivoted into a different business model, and that's great if you have. Please don't get me wrong. But the traditional DJ of show up on the decks and spin and entertain that crowd on a dance floor isn't really happening in many areas of the United States. At least it's not where I'm at, at least not right now. And it's not where my friend Eric is either. So Eric, I want to just, chat and kind of dig into this a little bit with the people. They can hopefully pick up on some things as you and I talk here and go through this. What are you looking at right now, like for a future forecast? I know it's hard to forecast this time of year, but 2021, what is a specific goal, or what's a goal of, maybe not too specific, but what's a goal of yours that you want to have for 2021 right now?
As far as goal, a big part of that will be our rescheduled dates, which is a big part of 2021, unfortunately. So it's, we have dates, but it's income, that revenue that we should have had in 2020. So that's kind of bittersweet. But the new dates that we did have accumulated for 2021 are looking good. We're at about 40% of where we would be going into a new year, for fourth quarter, which isn't bad. I wish it was a little higher. But again, I think people are still a little bit pensive about what's going to play out, especially now that we have a vaccine, but it's not going to get to the general public till about June, July of next year. So, in fact, today I had a bride call in and move her date from May of 2021. So she's still not sure. So I think we're still going to get a lot of that. But right now we're sitting at about 40% of our calendar, which is pretty much facing where we want to be, based on what we're going through right now.
Got it. And that's fair. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of that. I used to be, every market's going to be a little bit different, right? I'm in a very rural area here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. You're in Richmond, Virginia, so a little more a bigger city Richmond is compared to where I'm at. Town of 12,000 people. I don't know how many is in Richmond, but I'm sure more than 12,000. Yep. So, from that standpoint of the planning side, I used to always want to be at like 50% at least. You mentioned you're at 40% right now for future events and coverage and sales and things like that for the future. I always wanted to be at 50 as a goal I shot for, and most times I hit it. Sometimes I exceeded it, kind of thing. So you're probably right in the wheelhouse there of where you want to be. So in that regard, you're sitting here. I'm going to kind of walk through like 6 facets. And I've always spoke about the 6 facets of business: marketing, sales, planning, production, operations, performance, right? Those are 6 facets of business. So let's kind of get through some of those here today as we kind of talk this through. So marketing, what are you going to do for marketing in your business to help move that needle, right, from 40% up? Are you a solo op, Eric? Are you multi-talent?
I'm a multi-op.
Multi-op. Okay, perfect.
7 guys in my stable that I do book.
Okay.
But as far as marketing, typically, first quarter is when we do that casting the net, looking for brides. We do the trade shows. I don't know if those are going to happen this year because of the pandemic and because of how our state has shut down. Right now, we're currently no social gatherings, no events with more than 10 people. So that's very limiting. So I don't know if we're going to be doing trade shows. So what I have been doing personally is reaching out to my wedding planners, reaching out to my venues that I have solid relationships with to, even further strengthen that relationship. So keeping top of mind with them. In absence of doing shows, I am toying around with getting an external marketing company, an ad agency, to help us bolster our top of mind awareness out in the marketplace itself.
Have you thought of approaching some of the bridal show companies and asked about doing a virtual show?
No, I have not, but I will. Thank you.
That to me would be the move right now. And if it wasn't for me already having a foot in the fire on something else right now, that's probably what I would be doing right now.
Mhm.
I'm not big enough to the point where I could do both. I want to have some balance in my life.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
And I think that's something that most entrepreneurs don't really focus on. That's kind of separate from the whole six facet thing, right? Now we're talking personal versus business. But I think oftentimes you see so many divorces, you see so many relationships that fail because the entrepreneur put the business first and not the personal first. And I'm not saying you always should put the personal first. So sometimes you gotta, move that business forward. You know what I mean? I get it, right? Everyone comes to that decision sometimes, but I think there's other times where I think too often people choose the business over the personal, and it can have an adverse effect. So yeah, virtual. If you haven't had a chance to talk to your local bridal show producer and offer that or suggest it or look at it, I suggested it to mine and they were kind of thing on it. So, and I know we could do it. It's just I don't have the time to be able to put into the marketing engine and the everything
It's a
else
good
on
idea.
it.
It's
So that's something
definitely
you
a
want
good
to look at. So marketing is, virtual shows. I think another thing you want to look at for marketing at this point in time, where we're December 2020, we're pushing into 2021, as you mentioned. Vaccines coming. Dropped out today to a lot of places. Update those contacts.
idea.
Like how many of those people are still going to be in business? How many of the photographers are still in business? How many of the decorators are still in business? How many of the caterers are still in business?
Exactly.
Maybe they are, maybe they're not. You got to update your contacts. And so I'd be reaching out to at least 3 to 5 event pros a week. Say, hey, this is Eric, DJ Debonair. We're available for you. How you holding up?
Mhm. Yeah.
I made a phone call to, and we talked about this in sales for event pros recently too, but I made a phone call to the owner of a venue. They have a restaurant attached as well to the property. And, I just said, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been doing some of that as well, just touching base. And actually, to my surprise, a lot of the venues that I do work with, just touching base, saying how you doing. I've been getting automatic replies from their email saying they've been furloughed. So again, it's like, unless you reach out to them, you don't know what their world is like.
And that's the thing, because the people that have been furloughed, they may not come back to that job.
Exactly.
And so they may have a new contact, which means you need to start that process all over again.
Exactly.
And so that's why I think it's important to get ahead of it now.
Yeah.
Sales. So how are we doing in sales? How are we doing? You've talked about 40%. Me, I want to be at 50%. That's another thing that I put in place. I don't know if you did this or not, Eric. But when I started rescheduling dates, and I'm sure you've had some rescheduled dates, right? From 2020 to 2021. I think almost everybody has, right? But when you start rescheduling dates, one thing I tried to do was only push one. Now for you, probably a little different because you've got 7 talents you're booking. Me, on average, I want to do 3, maybe 4 a day. I don't have all the talent that you have number wise to be able to fill the dates, right? But I only allowed 1 per date to reschedule. So for example, for July 3rd of 2021, right? Only 1, what I called COVID-19 postponed in my CRM. Only 1 COVID-19 postponed could go on July 3rd, 2021.
Exactly.
If someone else wanted to move to that, I said, no, I'm sorry, that date's sold out.
Right.
Because we still have to have new money
Exactly.
on that date.
Exactly.
How else you going to survive? I mean,
Exactly.
And especially I think for a multi-talent company like yours or mine, we have that luxury. The solo op don't really have that luxury.
You got it.
That it's going to hurt more, and so it makes it tough. So the sales thing, that'd be my advice, is to only put, one of those postponed onto a future date. Is that something you implemented in your company?
Actually, I didn't. I'm not very aware of it. I've been moving dates, actually very rapidly when it first began. So it was key to try to get them locked down. And if I had a client pending on that date, to try to get that client to give them first right of refusal before I put a replacement bride on their date. So it's been kind of hectic like that. So I really haven't looked at the dates to see how many were COVID reschedules versus new money. We love the new money, but I definitely will do that.
Yeah, it's something I think you want to be cognizant of, how much you're going to have for new money on a date. Because again, if that money's already spent and paid for and bought, and, it makes it tough, right? Because you're holding that date for someone and they could just up and cancel and want a refund. And now
Exactly.
what? Now you're playing that game. And that's a game you don't want to play. All right, so we talked about marketing, we talked about sales. Let's jump into ops before we get into the three Ps of planning, production, and performance. So the operations side, like this has been just crazy. Daryl is joining us. We got a live chat here right now. So Daryl, how you doing, man? You got your mic muted there. All good. Just unmute your mic, Daryl.
Oh, it looks like I figured it out.
There you go. Oh, do you know Eric at all, Daryl?
Yeah.
We grew up together, but we haven't seen each other in a good while.
Yeah. What's going on?
Awesome. Glad you guys can connect on this. Nice to meet you, Daryl. I don't think we've met before, correct?
No, but I believe I've seen you in some of Eric's posts. So
Was it on a milk carton?
I hope not. But I'm down in Georgia. So if you're down here, that's the thing.
Sweet, brother, sweet. Well, thank you for being here. We're just kind of walking through what I call the 6 facets, which is marketing, sales, operations, planning, production, performance. So we're kind of walking through, Eric and I together, with ways to kind of tackle the 6 facets as we move forward into 2021 because of how decimated the entertainment industry has been over the last 9 months plus, right? I'm sure in Georgia, some of the same. Yes, is that what you're experiencing, Daryl?
Oh, definitely. We're currently, like many southern states, in increased, I guess, COVID impacts with our hospitals. Lockdowns will more than likely still be something that we'll be dealing with. And I guess, not to switch out the agenda, but one of the things I was thinking about was just how do we, or is there a potential to take the art form and the work into a digital platform? And I know there are things like internet radio stations and certainly other platforms. But to your point about marketing and infrastructure, I guess I had questions about things like that.
So let's go there. That's the performance side. So let's go there. Let's wrap up operations first, then we can dive into the 3 Ps if
Cool.
that's cool. We'll start with performance because normally I'm with performance, but we'll start with performance when we get there. So operations side, Eric talked about the 40%. That certainly is an operation side of things when you're forecasting out your monies and your booking ratios and those kind of things. What else are you doing on the operations side? Do you have some sort of document that allows you to track those details from year to year?
Well, I basically, I use DJNTV and QuickBooks. So, I can kind of forecast where I'm going, where I need to be, where I've been. So you have your historical data, and then you have what I call my projections. And again, that's basically, yeah. So that's kind of how I gauge where I'm at and where I need to be. And then I kind of break it down. I know, per month or per week, if I average 2 solid bookings per week, I'm good. I'm pacing where I need to be. And
Cool.
then if I get that, 1.5 or 1, I know I'm slacking a little. So that's kind of how I gauge where my, where we're going, moving forward.
And that's for me. I have a full, what I call a 6 facets of business goal tracker. And what I go through is I go through and look at, okay, this is the marketing side. These are the measurements I want to look at, the measurables I want to look at in the marketing side. These are the measurables I want to look at on the sales side. These are the measurables I want to look at on the operations side. And you break it down for all 6 of them kind of thing. And so you just go through it every week. And so if you're not doing that in your business, I would strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to do that. And that's actually something I'm going to do a shameless plug here. Sorry, John. A shameless plug is I'm offering that for free for anyone who's joining the Accelerate Your Business course and community upcoming. We start that course on December 28th. You can grab it at mitchtaylor.net/AYBC. And doors close, though, coming up this Sunday at midnight. Doors close on it. So if you want that, if you want to look at that tracker, get it for free or get it as part of the course for free, you can join up for that. So that's the operations side, really, is, tracking those kind of metrics in your business. How much did you have for income in 2018? What did that look like in 2019? Where did it fall in 2020? How about your confirmed bookings? What about your leads? What about your closing ratio? What about your COVID-19 forms? Did your staff complete all the COVID-19 forms for that weekend? Did they not? That's an operations side. Complaints, money refunded. Dirty little secret about the industry, right? Sometimes money gets refunded. If a client's not happy, someone screws up, they play an expletive in a song they shouldn't have, kind of thing, and mom gets mad or whatever. I mean, things happen, right? What's your gross margin? What's your net profit? Those kind of things we have in the tracker to look at. So, all right, let's go to performance, because Daryl wants to talk performance, and I don't want to I want to skip over that, brother. So performance. So Daryl's talking about, is there going to be a platform where you can perform and not get dinged? Was that what you're asking, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, DJs are, showing their craft in Facebook, for example, but YouTube, and unfortunately, this has been a really prohibitive format for many. And so I guess what I'm looking to explore is offering, something that isn't prohibitive, but still allows the talent to be highlighted.
Daryl, what's the name of your company?
Right now, I just have a generic company called Haddock Enterprises, but this is something that I'm looking to pursue. I've been exploring it with another friend of mine that's in St. Louis, and we've been looking at, things like internet radio stations, other ways that we could put what will be musical content out and still allow, the traditional DJ experience. And so, like I said, most of my research has been in the internet radio station arena. Okay.
Are you a mixer or a producer?
Right now, I've just mixed, but I think that what this is going to allow me to do is explore being a producer, like producing a show.
Cool. I'm just asking because I'm trying to understand where you're coming from so that I can throw out things possibly, or Eric can chime in.
I'm an amateur mixer.
All good. Eric, go ahead.
I taught him back in the day.
Okay.
No, but what I want to say as far as that, like if you want to start your internet radio show, being a radio veteran of 19 years, and a lot of people don't know that, getting rights to play music is very affordable. Getting licensing, paying the licensing fee, you can do, is obtainable. You just have to do it. You have to apply for it. People think, it's like, thousands and thousands of dollars. No, you can get the rights to songs, to play songs. That's easy. You can do that. You can go to ASCAP, you can go to BMI, and there's the other one, there's the big three, and pay for those licensing fees to reproduce their music. You can do it. It's affordable, but that would be your first step. As far as obtaining rights to play the music. That's why, like you see Facebook streams, Twitch is now, they're coming down on Twitch. I saw now that SoundCloud is now removing mixes off of their platform, because people don't have the rights to it. Right now, I think the only one that is really, really working is Mixcloud, and I think that's because they're out in Europe somewhere, New Zealand or something. So their live streams, but again, that's one you have to pay to get the premium package to be able to do the live stream on Mixcloud. So there are ways to get around it. And again, YouTube, that's another one where they are shutting down on music that you don't have the rights to. So if you're looking at doing it, explore getting licensing fees for the music from the big three. And you can go that route. But that's, once you get that, it's no different than a radio station, filing every year for their fee to play the music.
That's really, I guess, what I'm looking to do. And now that we're talking performance, I guess I'll just kind of leap back into a little bit of what you all are talking about. The other thing that I was maybe exploring is this platform membership driven, or is it like a traditional radio station where, there's some type of advertising, or the fees or the profitability is through other structures? So anyway.
Well, definitely, if you are trying to make an income from playing other people's music, you're definitely going to have to get their licensing.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And right, so that's why I'm looking at, how do you bundle this? And if it would be, if other DJs would be interested in, that type of collaboration, so that, they wouldn't have to do this themselves, right? So if DJs could have their own shows, but I have, maybe I have the collective rights or something. But anyway, I'm looking at, how do I solve a apparent problem for many of my DJ friends, I guess, is, what I'm exploring at this point.
The best way to make music from a show like that is sponsorship. That's the best way to try to get some type of sponsorship. But in order to do that, again, it starts with paying for the licensing to play that music. So once you do that, then you can go ahead and, again, no different than radio, sell slots or sell a title sponsor to the show, whatever you name your show, brought to you by X. And that's going to, your sponsorship's going to depend on your reach, who's tuning in, what your followership is, what's the membership, how many people you have on your roster that's tuning in on a weekly or whatever basis. Mitch, you can jump in, because I know you know a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, I started in radio back in the 90s, so I've got a little bit of radio background, probably not as much as Eric, certainly, or maybe even yourself, Daryl. But yeah, I think what Eric is saying is absolutely spot on, and exactly where you want to be. I would offer the perspective of, if you're going to go membership based, you want to charge people. Eric's suggesting do the sponsor thing, which is, yes, the probably the better way to go. But you have to have something that people want to buy.
Yeah.
You have to create the demand first, and then you can charge for it. Does that make sense?
Oh, no. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Let's say, just like satellite radio or other radio platforms, if you've got a membership list based on the genres that you want to run, and so, you've got your format, and I've got a membership list for everybody that wants to tune in to my Quiet Storm format, and I got 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people or whatever that looks like. Now I've got something to sell to the sponsor.
Right.
And they're going to want to see those metrics. It's the same thing we talked about earlier with operations. Your sponsors are going to want to see your metrics. Like, how many views do you have? How long are they listening for? What does that look like? Why? How are you going to transfer your audience into their purchasers? That's the question you got to ask yourself before you approach a sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to ask that question. The other thing, and this is more of a takeoff tangent from what you were talking about, Daryl, why don't you just have a house party?
I guess that would be the easiest. I mean, the whole idea really came from, a house party, an online house party idea. I guess the question is, I didn't see how you could host it in some of the current platforms that exist.
You can host it on Zoom webinar, and I would call it the Home Alone virtual house party or something like that. That's what I would to take off or play on something like that. I mean, I'm dating myself, but R. Kelly had a hit back in Detroit with the song Home Alone, and I remember just bumping that track back in the day. I used to love that track. I'm gonna go play that tonight. I think I'm on
Exactly. I was going to say I have to dust that one off. That's nice.
Home Alone with R. Kelly. That was a jam back in, I don't know, whatever year that was, 2000, 90,
Yeah.
99, 88, something like that, whatever. So I would do a Home Alone house party and just, do a bump on Zoom, do a webinar. There's certain platforms you can do. I have the Zoom webinar platform myself. You do 500 people and just send the link out. And as long as it's private, as long as you are not pushing it out live anywhere, you're good. So the catch is you want to advertise it on social. You know what I mean? Push that out, get those advertises out on social. Hey, we're going live with the Haddock House Party coming up on whatever time, whatever date. This is your link, join us. And then just set yourself up with, a ATM Mini Pro, where you have some different camera angles. Because again, think about it. This is a house party. Like, people expect.
Yeah.
It's just like a TV show. You wouldn't watch your favorite TV show with just one camera angle, would you?
No, I mean that you got to have some production value.
Right, exactly. Sorry, John, I almost swore. It's like this close. I was like, okay. So again, you want to like have some production value to it. So there's, I've seen the overhead cams. I've seen, Nick Spinelli did a great presentation for us at Midwest DJs Live a couple years back, and he just killed it. And the production level was over the top, and the camera work and that our team produced for him, and it was just great. So I would go with something like that. Would be my recommendation. Okay, so we kind of covered performance. We covered marketing, sales, ops, performance. So you got planning and production. Which one of those you guys want to hit next?
I'm up for planning if you don't mind.
All right. So planning. Eric, you do primarily what type of events?
I do 80% weddings, corporate events, and every now and then we'll jump in the club.
Jump in the club, you said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So for me, my wedding, prior to 3 to 4 weeks out, I do comprehensive forms out to each one of my clients for them to fill out prior to our face-to-face meeting before their event. The forms are, again, very comprehensive, everything from the time they set foot on the property until we cut the lights on at the end of the night.
Cool. How about yourself, Daryl? What do you got for events? What type of events do you do for planning?
Well, right now, I mean, what you described was really what I was thinking about. Like I said, this would be kind of the, club experience, the online club experience.
Cool.
Kind of like a house party, on the internet, And so I love the idea of planning the production value, but also, this in my head, there's probably going to have to be, things like waivers, perhaps. I mean, I guess the question is, what do you have to get into, in terms of the folks that check in? If it's private, maybe there's very little liability we got to worry about. But it should be, in my opinion, some agreement that somebody signs because that their images and likenesses are being captured. So I would imagine, those are the, boilerplate.
You're talking about if you're going to record this and then use it in the future for self-promotion. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really, because that's the only reason I would think that I would actually record it was if there was some continued, self-promotion value that could come out of it. If it was just kind of a one and done, I don't think it hurts. But you never know. People are so kind of litigation fearful these days, especially with social media. I think that there are some types of liability forms I should be prepared to create.
So Daryl, you are looking more at not doing the mobile DJ thing, but more of just doing a online streaming thing. So you're not
basically. Right. This is a online
events and not physical events,
and not a physical event.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's all good. I mean, it's all open and relevant in this day and age, as far as I'm concerned.
I guess it just means for me, I'm not necessarily looking to take on the liability. The logistics of moving this party around. Like, I really want the fact that it's virtual to just be, it's relatively low overhead.
So Daryl, did you sign our waiver before you joined this call?
I didn't.
We're recording right now, so
I did not.
Just so you know.
So you guys can take this mug and show it anywhere you want.
Sorry, John. You gotta have humor. Okay, so in that regard, I mean, I think, just a short little disclaimer. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. Please talk to your own lawyer. And yes, people can be very litigious. Is that the word? I can't exactly pronounce the word, but you get what I'm saying, right? They get sue happy, whatever the case may be. But talk to your lawyer, see what they want to do, what they would recommend. I can't sit here and advise you in that regard. But that being said, I mean, I would think a one little disclaimer thing at the bottom, hey, your likeness may be used, or voice may be used, or image may be used for promotional purposes if you show up at our stream. That's...
And that language is in like my contract. So even with my clients, my brides, that is that's one of the terms saying that when your likeness, your voice may be used, you're giving me permission to use that for either marketing purposes in the future.
Same.
And that's pretty much kind of a standard clause that's in your contract.
Correct.
For private events, yes, that's what I have.
So what do you use for Mitch? What do you use for your planning?
So for planning for me, I use DJ Event Planner, sponsor of Disc Jockey, DJNTV here, Disc Jockey News and DJNTV. And then I also use, that's actually what we spent the first part of the pandemic doing with my company, was revamping our planning forms. Because I really felt that our planning forms for private events were okay. They were thorough. I mean, don't get me wrong. They weren't pretty. And they weren't customized, tailored to your client, to our client. I wanted them to be able to be like literally the point of, blank and his mom's dance. And literally have his name in his planning form when he logs on.
Gotcha.
Cool. Right? Blank and blank's first dance, their names right there. Not what would you like for your first dance? So I wanted to personalize a little bit more. So I found a company called Perfect Portals that was doing that. And they did a great job with my stuff. They made it look very wedding-y. Is that a word? I mean, whatever. You get the vibe. And I've got, I don't know how many questions on my damn planning form right now, but it's a lot, and so it's really thorough and it breaks it down. It's more like a if this then that kind of setup. So in other words, for example, Eric, this would fall into your wheelhouse in regards to private events. But if they say, yes, we've booked a ceremony with you, then if they click yes, it automatically, boom, accordions a ceremony planning form.
Gotcha.
Photo booth. Yes, we booked a photo booth. Boom, accordion a photo booth planning form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it literally breaks that out. So for you, Daryl, what you could do in this situation is, would you be interested in a theme night with us for your house party?
Yeah.
They click yes, boom, accordion. What genres would you like for your theme night? Boom, 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 boom. If they click, let's say they click freestyle, okay?
Yeah.
Then another one, boom, accordion. What are your favorite freestyle artists? Boom, boom, you know what I mean? And then, so you could literally do this same concept that I'm just discussing, adapt it from the wedding world into the, online club world, right?
Now I'm gonna throw I guess a hook in here. So another area that, because I do a lot of conferences, online conferences, because folks don't want them to be so content heavy have gone to, having, light content in some of these conferences, these virtual conferences. So now
Musical
there's a lot of
breakout.
DJs.
Yeah. You do like a musical breakout session. Yeah.
Yep,
Definitely.
yep. And so that might be something that I could also want, to be a part of that kind of accordion contract to say, hey, if this is an event where you like music played, or if you want a breakout session, or if you want, a break in the conference, then you could have that, and it could also be thematic.
So that's the production level that I would, or planning, I should say, that I would go into with them is, how are you going to me, with planning, you always want to look at it also from your side, but then also look at it from your client's side and say, okay, what does this look like for them? How is their experience?
Yeah.
Is this moving us forward and them forward? Or is it really just catering to us? Because it's really just catering to you, might not be the way to go,
Yeah.
So you always got to look at it on both sides. In my opinion, you always got to look at it on both sides.
And I think that's a great point. Thank you.
Okay, so then lastly, we got production. This is a good talk. We've been kind of going for a little bit here. Production. So, man, full disclosure, I'm somewhat late to the game. Many of my brethren have gone way deeper and way better and way harder on production than I have. I mean, I feel like in some ways I was an early adopter to some of this. Like, I've been using Zoom for 5 years. Like, everyone's like, oh, Zoom, this new thing. I'm like, I did my first podcast 4 years ago on Zoom. So in some ways I've been an early adopter, but other ways, my brethren have left me in the dust. They're talking about, different cameras and different, setups and, the ATM mini, which I still haven't fully figured out myself. I played with it a little bit, but what kind of production value have you brought to the table moving forward here, Eric?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, the pandemic has been an eye opener on so many levels for us. Now, I'm fortunate that in my camp, I have DJs that are into all that. Like guys like Gary Galden with a AV, which does over-the-top streaming, multi-camera productions.
Nice.
Everything from concert grade PA to everything. Also like Tony Fernandez. Tony's in my camp.
I know Tony.
He's the king of the GoPro. So he and his Tony doesn't do anything simple.
This is true.
So I was fortunate enough to have those guys in my camp if need be. But personally, it made me look at, well, during this pandemic, outside of doing what I do, what else did I have to offer? I don't do over-the-top lighting. I have somebody I sub it out to when we do big rigs. I don't do over-the-top PA because I have somebody in my camp I can sub it out to. But me personally, moving forward, I am looking at incorporating some of those production elements myself to start offering it, so I'm not, on this island that I have placed myself on during this pandemic. So, things like the cloud and cold spark machines, I'm going to invest in those myself, so I can do like the fire and the cloud openings and first dances and things of that nature. Beef up my uplighting and special effect lighting. Fortunately, my 18-year-old son has decided to join me and help me on events, so I have him now to help do that setup.
That's awesome.
Before it was just me, and I was a little bit lazy, saying, I'm a mobile DJ. I don't want to be an overworked DJ, so I'll just do what I have to do to kind of like make it look good, get by. And I kind of fell into a little bit of a status quo. I got complacent in my setup. Sounds good, looks good, but I did the whole "it's working for me, why fix it" thing. Well, COVID has showed me that I need to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to look good too, and I want to be right. But COVID has shown me that it gave me time to be able to reflect on where I've been, what I've done, what I've created, and realized that I made some really good moves. But I didn't take advantage of some things that I could have earlier than I should have, So for me, I'd give myself probably, I don't know, a C in regards to how I've adapted, honestly, with COVID and with 2020 and everything else. How about yourself, Daryl? How about production on your end? What do you see that looking like for yourself? We talked about multi-cameras. What do you think?
I mean, since this is like a new venture for me, I'm probably going to follow Eric's line of thought in terms of kind of what's the minimalist approach. I've got in my camp as well here in Atlanta. I've got a lot of friends that are not only mobile DJs, but I got maybe one or two friends that actually have clubs. And so it might be interesting now that I listen to you guys to think about what does production look like, from a spot, and maybe I'm thinking of, recording from a club so that there's some, revenue that could be drawn or shared or collaboration, so that if we're putting on these events, these shows, we can get the benefit of the higher production because we got a cohort. And then, depending on the profitability, what does that look like? Maybe there's a way to kind of build that up and scale it out for really, really special events. There might be, maybe a set of tiered productions that we're able to do, thinking in terms of kind of what is the bare bones, like you say, kind of what is the Home Alone party, level production, and then what is the, online New Year's Eve party, production that might allow me to have, various types of profitability, depending on scale.
Now, when you say that, and just a real quick tip, and I think I'm correct on this. If you do it in a venue, like to take it back to the whole licensing fees and copyright fees, if you do it in a venue, they already have to pay those fees.
Yep.
They already have to pay, so you wouldn't have to pay. It's like me when we do weddings or do events at venues. People say, why don't the DJs have to pay the licensing fees? The venues have to pay those fees.
Sure.
So basically, we get to play the music for free.
So that might be something to ask. I mean, so you got me thinking about reworking this business plan.
There you go.
Really, in terms of, kind of maybe having a base production level and then kind of this mid-tier where I'm actually at a venue, and then maybe there's the upscale, like the really high, hey, we're gonna have the lights, we're gonna have, we used to, when I had a DJ company back in the 90s, and we used to call it Clubhouse, the ultimate club experience without walls, where we would be mobile. And so maybe that's what I'm reimagining here, is that, we're offering this online experience as part of the package, knowing that people are still going to be on lockdown. Just in terms of the pandemic, I've got to kind of think of what's the post-pandemic angle to this. I don't think that'll be an immediate rubber band snap where folks won't ever go back to, kind of pre-online viewing. So I think that I can still be marketable, but really this is, I could imagine this being a niche in terms of, a business that I could do that capitalizes, as I said, on a challenge that I see a lot of my friends experience, which is there are less and less places that they're able to spin online.
You could be. I get my creative juices going and I just like spout off stuff and it just goes boo. You could be the CEO party, Club Entertainment Online.
There you go.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, Eric will tell you, we've been having this really kind of fun, experience on Facebook where a bunch of us, and we're in different cities, and we're all kind of throwing up what songs we will be playing. And I have just been floored. We've been running this game on Facebook for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
And the number of people that it has, that, you know, created to like jump on this party and kind of follow the dance songs that we all been throwing up has just floored me in terms of interest. And so anyway, I was already thinking about, you know, like I said, that, you know, at least initially, this would probably just be an internet radio station or radio show that just did dance music. But now, like I said, my recent thoughts have been around really, you know, building this out as a business and really trying to taking this to scale.
So we're going to wrap up here, because I think that's a great part to wrap up on, is if 2020 has told you anything, it's that life is short. And so my friend Daryl, dream big. Don't just stop at the damn internet radio station. You can go beyond that, my friend.
Thank you.
And so, you know, I want to thank DJ Debonair, Eric, for joining us here. Daryl from Atlanta, thank you so much. Tonight, we kind of did 6 facets of business in 2021. And what have you done, and what are you doing, and how are you moving forward into 2021? I'm Mitch Taylor for the Disc Jockey News. Thanks for watching.